Captain Flip, the ultimate RPG Game Master's world-building guide, and exit the game, kids. Riddles in Monsterville. This is Staying In.
I watched The Thing.
Which thing?
The Thing.
Oh, yeah.
Which thing?
The Thing. The movie, The Thing.
Oh, okay. The was it John Carpenter?
Yeah.
Correct. Well done. You're on
I
this.
think my favourite John Carpenter film, I think.
It's the first time I ever watched it.
Really?
Yeah. You would have thought me definitely watched The Thing.
Yeah,
right?
definitely.
If you went, what hobbies is he into?
Things.
Has he painted all his Blood Bowl miniatures?
Yeah.
Answer all those questions. You probably would have been put me into group one being, yeah, he's watched The Thing.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you're a man about town.
Yeah. What a fantastically gruesome movie that is.
Right,
Oh, yes, it is. Yeah. I mean, the creature effects in it are legendary.
It is the best practical effects movie I think
Yeah.
I've ever watched.
Wow.
Ever. Like, staggeringly good how good those practical effects are. Like, amazingly good.
It's also got an ending that is fiercely discussed and debated.
Oh, yeah.
Because it's an ambiguous ending.
I just can't believe I've waited so long
It's such a good film.
to watch that movie.
Do you know it's based on a novel
No, but I do now.
from the late 30s?
What's the novel called?
Well, I'm glad they didn't go with the title of the original novel, because the title of the novel is Who Goes There?
Not quite as.
And the original delivery was, "Who goes there?"
That's got very Philip K. Dick novel to movie adaptation like feeling to it of like Blade Runner is like a really, really cool name, but when it's do androids dream of electric sheep?
Yeah.
Right, Phil, we really need to sex up this title. What have you got?
Yeah.
Electric sheep? Oh, that's the best we're going to do.
Oh, Philip!
Can I just update everyone on Strike Watch?
Yes.
Everyone, obviously, you'll know that Strike was the game of Aircon. The amazing, incredible dice chucking, throwing cavalcade that is Strike. Me and Kris have now secured copies imported from Germany.
Yes.
I bought 2 editions of them, one for me and one for Kris, because I'm not sharing that.
No.
And I now have it, and it is as good as I remember it being.
That's
it is
good.
not just. It wasn't just a love affair at Aircon. It wasn't just a holiday love affair. It was genuine, real, and yeah, can't wait to. We're all meeting up this weekend, and we're all going to play Strike again. So,
oh, yes.
Yep, for Dan's birthday. Dan doesn't know we're playing Strike this weekend.
nope.
We've just sent him a series of times.
And not revealing what we're actually doing. And one of the things we are actually doing, which we might want to talk about, is we're going to go and see Coventry City FC play Burnley FC
Yes.
at the Ricoh Arena.
Now, these are football teams.
These are football teams, Peter, and this is the first time you've ever seen a football match
Yes.
in real life.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen it on TV.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. That's why I said real life.
Yeah.
Oh.
So we are going to be playing Strike. I guess this is a good opportunity for me to request you bring another game, another good hit from the con. Kris, can you bring Captain Flip with you?
I can
please?
bring Captain Flip,
Ooh.
a.k.a. Capitan Flip, which is
Whoa.
the non-English version of it.
Oh, right, okay. All right, fair enough.
Captain Flip. Yeah.
How exotic.
But that game was good.
It is a nice
real
game.
Good.
Remind me again, which game was this?
Captain Flip is a game from Remo Consadori and Paolo Mori, whose name keeps getting mentioned a lot on our podcast.
Oh, we like Paolo
Yeah,
Mori.
he does. Yeah. Paolo Morish. That's what I call his
Oof.
game.
Steady. And this was a game that I think was nominated for the Spiel, actually.
Was
and
it?
that caused a little bit of consternation, just because on the face of it, looks quite light and it feels quite light, but it is, like all great games, addictive.
Okay,
and that addiction is predicated on a very simple mechanic, which is flipping. So as a player, you have a board in front of you, which is a grid, and it's a pirate ship because it's a pirate-themed game. And all you do on your go is you reach into a bag and you pull out a tile and reveal just one side of that tile, and you have a choice. Do I play the tile with the face-up image that I see now, or do I flip it? But once I flip it, I have to commit to it, whatever that may be.
Yeah. And
I place that on my board. And each of these tiles has a particular ability. So, for example, if I have the cartographer and I play the cartographer, I take the treasure map, which is this chunky map, which I have in my possession, which means until somebody else takes it off me by playing it their own cartographer, I will get a coin at the end of my go every time I take my go, essentially. If I have a navigator and I play a navigator, I score 2 coins immediately for every cartographer I've got on the board. Haven't got any cartographers? Well, I'll probably flip my navigator. Oh, that's good. I flipped it to the gunner. That's great. When I reveal a gunner, I score 5 coins immediately. That's great. However, if I end up with 3 gunners on my board, I lose the game immediately. So that's kind of a high-risk strategy there. If I have a parrot, I lose a coin at the end of the game, but it allows me to take another go. If I have a swabby, that's the long game. For each swabby I have in a row, that allows me to rack up points. 1 swabby gets me 1 coin, but at the end of the game, if I get 5 swabbies, that's 25 coins in my bag. The lookout, I score 4 coins at the end of the game if it is at the highest of a respective column. And if I play the monkey, I can flip a tile that it's placed next to. But then I've got to remember, hang on, what was on that tile that I'm thinking of flipping now? Because I've already got 2 gunners on the board. If I flip a third one and that appears, I've lost the game. That's the game in a nutshell, really. The first person to complete 4 columns, that ends the game. We play out the rest of the round. Completing columns will give you certain rewards, like it might be you get to take the treasure map back, or you'll get a little coin bonus. There are 4 types of board you can play with in total, so there's a little bit of variability there. But there's just something quite nice about that sensation of reaching into a bag, pulling it out, and having that choice. And it's a lovely kind of game to play with families, but equally also it's a great way to end a gaming session, I find, because mechanically it is very simple, but in terms of playing each other around the table, goading each other, go on, flip it, it's your day. You haven't flipped in a while, you flip it, go on. You deserve it. And the fact that you just have a very clean and simple user interface where if there's a yellow kind of square on your token, you know that's something that scores now. If it's blue, that's something that scores you at the end of the game. That is it. It's great. It's really, really great.
I remember it now. I really liked, because it felt very set. Is it set collection? It felt very. It's got bits of everything, right? It's got lots of different bits of, different gameplay elements, and I kind of, I didn't feel like the gameplay really mirrored the theme all that much, but it didn't get in the way. It's like it was a game that needed a theme. I don't necessarily think this is it, but it works nice enough.
Yeah, because you've got things like the lookout, which kind of thematically makes sense if you've got them at the top of a column.
Yeah, that's true, I suppose.
But I take your point. That's really the only thing that's pertinent to the theme, really, mechanically, I'd say.
But honestly, I thought it was really, really good. I don't often go for those kinds of games, but they are. It was light. It was quick to explain, and there was quite a bit of strategy in it. There was quite a bit of thinking. Oh, okay, I need to build this out. Should I take the risk on this one? Maybe I will. Yeah, it was good.
There's a good bit. I think what kind of impressed me, and it probably shouldn't impress me because it's probably just some simple maths that someone's done somewhere, which I'm just too idiotic to figure out, is that every tile is unique. So there are no So it's not like, on the back of every lookout there's a cook, and there's not like on the back of every cartographer there's a gunner. Like every single tile is unique.
Yeah,
so
you can't count.
You can't count the cards, and you can't game the system.
Right.
So it makes every time you flip a complete random act, which really escalates the tension of each of those decisions. And I can see why, regarding, public opinion, how that kind of might eliminate some of the strategic elements of the flipping and make it a bit more luck based and whatever. But I think that what the game realizes is it really wants to revel in that low stakes gambling feeling of taking a risk on something and it paying off, or taking a risk of something and it not paying off, and everyone around the table delighting or commiserating along with your victory or your bad judgment in terms of flipping. And I think that, when you realize that is kind of the game, that everyone is kind of on your side when you pull out the bag, and then sort of, with you in kind of encouraging you to flip, or like, put down a certain card, is again, it's one of those shared, just wonderful shared group experiences where understanding it and the mechanics of it and how it's displayed on the table is so clean and clear that it's really obvious what everyone is going for. It's very, very clear when someone pulls out something out of the bag, whether that is something that they really suits what they're going for, or they could possibly flip it. So everyone around the table is all speaking the same language, and they get up to speed very, very quickly. So it builds this theme around the table where we're all playing 4 separate games, but we're all got very, very intimate knowledge of everything that we are doing, that everyone else is doing around the table, which is a very, very difficult trick to pull off. And not many games are able to do that really cohesively, in terms of really make sure everyone around the table is understood what sets people are collecting. I'm always really impressed by that of a game where it's very, very quickly getting everyone around the table using a shared understanding really, really quickly. Like that is an amazing trick to pull off.
Yeah,
really good.
And it's interesting. I really, really like, and I want to explore more, the other boards, because, for example, the Kraken, which is essentially a board with Kraken tentacles that you're placing your tiles into. What it has is you can be penalised in some columns for being the first person to complete that column. You may get no coins, and anyone else who completes that column will get 2 coins. So actually, what can be seen as a race in some of the boards, it's actually the opposite in others, where you're really looking around the table to see where people are placing their tiles.
Oh, that's actually quite cool. I hadn't thought. Yeah, because we only played together, we only played one round.
I think we just played the basic.
We did, yeah,
the basic one. But
yeah,
and it's a game that's very quick to set up. It literally, here's the bag, here's your board.
It's a perfect convention game, actually. It's a perfect I think some people sort of turn their nose up at intro games or refresher games or sorbet games, right, between bigger things. But actually, I think games like this serve a really great purpose, which is, first of all, really great for introducing other people to board games with, apart from anything else, but also very quick to get into, very lightweight, but still enjoyable. It's not lightweight as in there's nothing to this. Equally at home, at a long-term gaming group, as a mix of games of an evening, as it is, I think, in a board game cafe.
I'm really interested. Are there films that you haven't seen but you kind of feel like you have, because either clips of them or parodies of them are so well known that you feel like you've kind of seen the film. Because I've never seen any of the Godfather films.
Oh,
what?
Don't bother. The first one.
No, you can't say that.
So
I'm getting
boring.
two conflicting views here.
You can't say that.
Well, I just did.
I feel like I've seen The Princess Diaries.
As you wish.
No, what's the one with the guy who's reading the story to the boy in bed?
That not The Princess Diaries. You're thinking of The Princess Bride.
Princess Bride. Yeah, that's the one.
Not the Anne Hathaway.
No.
Julie Andrews.
No.
I feel like I've seen Jurassic Park.
What? Come on. Hold on a second.
What?
Have you never seen Jurassic Park?
No, I mean that, but I feel like I have.
Yeah,
Like,
well, what do you think happens in Jurassic Park?
People turn up. They're going there on a helicopter. Someone says, "Welcome to Jurassic Park," and then he looks out the window, and lo and behold, there is Jurassic Park, and it's shown as this big, incredible reveal. When it's like, of course, he knew he was going to be there. He's where are we going? We're going to Jurassic Park. And cut scene. Cut to the next scene. Oh, this is Jurassic Park. It's like, yeah, of course. It's like if I went to Thorpe Park, I would know I was going to Thorpe Park. If somebody said, "Now this is Thorpe Park," I'd be like, "Of course it is."
Can I just make a case for the defence?
Yeah.
In a way, this part's got dinosaurs in it.
Yeah.
But I know that. I know that, right? Thorpe Park's got Nemesis, or whatever it's called, right?
That's Alton Towers.
Alton Towers. It doesn't surprise me that if I go to Alton Towers, it's got Nemesis. Well, of course it is. It's advertised. So then they get out the thing, and then they go, "Here's Jurassic Park." Some old guy who I think is like the brother, I think, of the guy who does the documentaries.
Yeah, Richard Attenborough.
Yeah, he wanders around and says, and says, like, you know, "There's dinosaurs around here, lads." They go out and see them, and then again they're also shocked again that the dinosaurs are there, including that really nice guy, that really nice actor. Who's that?
Hold on. Case for the defence, right? They're not shocked that dinosaurs are there because they weren't expecting dinosaurs. They're shocked that dinosaurs are there because someone has managed to genetically re-engineer dinosaurs, and they're kind of like, that's amazing.
Sam, if I sat you down and said, right, Sam, come on into my house, but before you come on into my house, I want to just make it very, very clear to you, there's a lion inside. Right?
Yeah. At which I would be shocked at, but then I went, "No, there isn't. Don't be silly."
And I'd say,
lions are native.
And I'd say, "No, really, I've invited you all the way here to my house to see the lion that's in here. I'm not joking. There's a lion in here, and I need you to make sure that you're okay with that as you come in, because you've come a very long way. We've renamed our house Lion House, right? Like, you should be expecting this. If you go in and you go, "Oh, a lion."
No, but I'm not shocked. I'm not shocked at the fact that I didn't believe that you had a lion. I'm shocked at the reality that actually that is a lion.
Yeah.
Right. Also, if you'd seen the film, there is a whole section where specifically Sam Neill's character is skeptical from day dot, and he flies there saying, "This isn't true. There is no way that you could have done this. This isn't possible," etc., etc., etc.
Sure.
So there is genuine.
Yeah.
In fact, everyone is sort of on the skeptical bandwagon. So no one goes there really believing that there are dinosaurs there.
Attenborough's brother has done enough documentaries to the point where I think we can give his brother a bit of like, you know, a bit of leeway, and that we believe him a little bit, that he's got dinosaurs in there, right? So anyway, they turn up to the thing. That nice guy who plays the same character in every movie that he's in,
Jeff Goldblum.
He basically says something about life finding a way, and then at some point a T-Rex eats a man off of a bog. The end.
Incredible.
Deny it.
It's not wrong.
Right. I feel like I've seen that movie.
Yeah. So this is your third podcast, Pete. Painting.
Yeah.
If you've heard the
Clink.
the tapping and tingling of brush against glass,
Clink. Yeah.
that is Peter Whittington.
Yep. That's what they call me.
The clink.
Yeah.
It sounds like clink.
There's a C in it.
Yeah. There's currently using some Satchel Brown speed paint to really get some colour on the models.
So, are any of those going to be for RPGs, Pete, or that's strictly miniature stuff?
Well, I might do it for some RPGs because I do quite like the idea, especially with speed paints. I've always been put off by having models at my table with role-playing games, simply because...
Oh, interesting.
Because it's a lot of work. Like, it's a lot of work to do lots and lots of models, and it really becomes like a big hobby if you have to paint every single model and every bit of new terrain that you show. I mean, we've played RPGs before, right? Like,
yeah.
And you enter into the completely grey room.
Yeah, exactly. Like, everything around you looks as if it's uncoated plastic.
Yeah.
The beast emerges from the pot, completely grey, devoid of any colour.
This is very deliberate, says the wizard. Magic is afoot.
We found another cloak of invisibility.
So you know, I've always been very, very jealous of people who have tabletop games that do have models and
it looks
those sorts
great.
of things, because it does, doesn't it? It looks great, and whenever I talk to those people, I get very, very jealous. But no, I haven't. Interestingly, there's not a lot of discussion around models in the books of James D'Amato, which is the person that I've been reading recently. Now, Kris, I gave you...
You did. You gave me 2 books of James
books
D'Amato.
in the end?
Yes, you did. I think you actually gave me the same book or a different edition of the same book.
No, I actually didn't. They have
okay.
very, very similar names, and I think you didn't bother reading the cover.
No, because I lent one of my students is doing their dissertation on tabletop role-playing games, so I gave it to them to borrow to help them with their dissertation, and
Good.
I've got the other one.
So your colleague has the Ultimate RPG Game Master's Guide.
That's what they're borrowing, yeah.
And you have the Ultimate RPG Game Master's Worldbuilding Guide.
Right.
By James D'Amato. So people might know James D'Amato from the One Shot Podcast Network. They do quite a bit of a ton of podcasting around RPGs. I don't think they're as big as things like Critical Role and those sorts of things. I don't really know. I don't really listen to Let's Plays or actual plays or whatever they're called. I actually didn't know about this person until I read some of their books, but they got... I saw them being advertised on a couple of different websites, and I ended up taking the plunge and giving them a go because I like to learn a lot by like through theory. I like practice as well, but I do enjoy a bit of theory, so I can actually sit and think, how should I do this thing? And in these 2 books, he basically explains in the first one about, you know, how to DM, essentially, how to run games of role-playing games. He explains like what it is to be a DM, or a GM, or a referee. So if you've not played RPGs before, and I know obviously us 3 have, Sam, you've DM'd, haven't you? You have done it once. Yeah,
a few times
Kris,
actually, yeah.
Oh yeah, of course he has. Yeah, and I know obviously, Kris, you have. It can be quite daunting because to actually do your first round of GMing, game mastering, because it can feel like, oh God, I essentially need to be a computer because I need to enforce all of the rules. I also need to create all of the physics and the environment of the world. I have to create a sense of, not necessarily realism, but certainly a sense of cohesion within the world. I have to play all of the characters. All the characters have to be different because they're characters. I have to come up with a story. I have to, or in the very least, come up with a series of settings that allow the story to emerge naturally through play. I have to do all of these things. I also have to do things like coordinate, make sure everybody turns up on time, that they know what game we're playing, that they have all the right things. It's a really huge amount of work. And as Ben Milton, who is the YouTuber Questing Beast, points out in one of his videos on Dungeons and Dragons 5th edition, that's a lot. Like, that's a full-time job. And indeed, for some people, it is a full-time job. Like, that actually is their day job, right? Running games. So it's no surprise, I think, that there's this kind of layer of advice, books, YouTube series where people talk about what it is to GM, how to do it, because it's one of those roles that in a lot of games, most games I would say, you have to have somebody who's running the actual game itself, and it's a really scary thing to do for someone because apart from anything else, the three of us have all done performing, for example, for others. We've performed in front of hundreds of people at a time and perhaps even more. On stages and given talks and been in lecture halls and all that sort of stuff. And, even then it can feel quite daunting and scary because it's a smaller number of people who are looking to you and you alone to set this game up. And you're kind of responsible for making sure that everybody has fun that night, right? And James D'Amato has written these 2 books. He's written actually a couple of different books. He's also got some other GM tools as well. I think a playing card set that includes like prompts and stuff for role-playing. But the Ultimate RPG Game Master's Guide, that's the one that your colleague has, Kris. And that really goes into GMing, good advice. And I read it sort of thinking to myself, well, maybe, I've done this for a bit now. Like, what can I really learn? And actually, there's some really good stuff in there around, I would say some of it's quite basic, as in, like, once you've done it a couple of times, you probably know that stuff intrinsically. And some of it is a bit more, you kind of have to be around the hobby a bit. So it talks a lot about safety tools, but also the context of safety tools, not just from a perspective of like, you have to use these, that is all you are doing and you must use them, why aren't you using them, you bad person, but from but why are they actually useful? And D'Amato actually like goes through and says like, this is why they're useful, this is why you should consider having them at the table. So that book's really good. But I would say the better one is the Ultimate RPG Game Master's Worldbuilding Guide. And luckily, Kris, you've not given that one away yet.
No, I'm not giving it away. No, I will get the other one back, I should say.
So this one, they all kick off with some good like forewords from a bunch of different people. This one actually, this Worldbuilding Guide actually kicks off with an intro by an author called Patrick Rothfuss. I don't know.
Oh, yes.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Oh, my word. Yeah.
Yes.
That's credibility right there.
Right. So in terms of world building, Song of the Wind?
Yeah. Wise Man's Fear, Song of the Wind. The King Killer Chronicles.
King Killer Chronicles, that's the one.
Come on, finish the 3rd book now, Patrick.
Come on, Patrick. Chop, chop. Stop writing intros. So he gives the foreword to this and he talks about why world building is so wonderful. But he also basically says, I sat at this guy's table and played a game with him, and this is how you do it. Like, this is how you build worlds out. And so that's a bit where you go, you know what? Fair enough. I'll read this. And yeah, it starts to go into lots and lots of different topics. It has some really good breakout moments where it sort of like takes a side conversation. So it's, it might be going through like, what is world building? Why is it important? Like, what are some of the basics? And then it will do like a side thing, which I kind of feel is almost like the author taking you to one side and saying, look, I know I'm giving this lecture, but I also want you to know this other thing over here. So for example, I'm just going through the ebook version of this. I got the physical version and the ebook version actually. He has a side note where he just says, nothing's ever really new. And he just he very briefly just says, don't worry about trying to feel like you need to be original. Like, that's not the goal here. And if you try to do that, you'll get really, really het up and not have a lot of fun in your world building. Just take some things that you already know about and do a small twist on them. It's probably already been done before, but you didn't know about that. just have fun. Neither will your group. It's unlikely that your group would either. And it's just those little things whereby when you're doing world building, which is obviously something, Kris, you've obviously done, and Sam, you've done it to an extent as well when you've done GMing. Like, that's really, sometimes you just need somebody to say, don't worry about it. Like, just do it. Just crack on. Yeah. Is that a worry you have? Yeah, it's fine. Like, it's not something you need to worry about because it's just going to make you feel like you're not having a great time. And it's little tidbits of advice like that around world building that I think is really, really useful. He talks about one of his solutions that he talks to about like trying to get to places and try and inspire with world building. I think the line is something like, the solution is always buy more books. By
me.
By me, please.
Yeah. With introductions by.
Yeah, Simon and Schuster would very much like it if you would buy some more books from me, please. But like, buy more books. And he's talking there about, and I'm a great believer in this, of like, yeah, go and read more. Like, go and read. Like, if you don't know, if you want to do something set in I want to do something that's a little bit kind of like fantasy medieval, but I want a bit of a spin on it. Go and read a set of books around fairy tales, or go and read a set of books that are cyberpunk. Go and read a set of books that are about like far future sci-fi. And in doing that, you're going to end up with things like Dolmenwood and Shadowrun and Starfinder, respectively, right? Like, you're going to get different things out of them, and nobody could say that those settings aren't quite compelling. He talks about fantasy a lot. He talks about sci-fi a lot. He also goes into what he calls X-punk, so cyberpunk, steampunk, solarpunk, those kinds of things, and deconstructs genres in a way that I've not really seen much before outside of like academic literature. And I wouldn't say it's academic, like in writing style. It's very approachable, like really, really approachable. But the things he's talking about tend to be a bit more in the realms of academia. So like, well, what makes something X-punk? Like, what is it about the punk movement that is worth taking, that is worth exploring as part of this? Does the same for fantasy, does the same for sci-fi, talks about horror as well, like why horror is useful and why, like, where you can sort of find your bits of inspiration, and then has very like agnostic stuff as well of like, how do you build out characters? How do you do that kind of stuff? So that's all of the theory side of it. And then throughout the whole thing, he's also doing prompts. So these are like, so let's say you want to create a magic system, which he says, this is, we're in fantasy. Let's talk about magic, because magic is often one of the big denominators of fantasy. He provides prompts like, what does the use of magic do in your world? How do people feel when they see someone doing it? How do they feel when they are in the act of doing magic? How does somebody know what good magic is versus bad magic? Are there services that people provide that are based on the magic in your world? How does society view those who master magic, and what does mastery of magic actually mean? And there's all these prompts where you go, oh yeah, I hadn't, yeah, what, and just to take one of those, like, what does mastery of magic look like? That's actually really an incredible prompt. Like, yeah. And that, for me, has been more than worth the price of admission. Just those sets of prompts to go, oh yeah, I need to think about that when I'm doing stuff that is, again, sci-fi, great one. How do people travel? How do they get from where they are to where they need to go? What is the fastest that somebody can travel? Because if you can't break the speed of light, that makes the play space you can possibly encompass way smaller than something where you can go faster than light, right? In a game that you can't do that, that's a game like Traveller, in which you are traveling for potentially hundreds of years from one star to another. that therefore means surely they have figured out how to do cryostasis, because otherwise you couldn't travel from that location to another. Or maybe you just can't travel from location to location at all, and the sci-fi has to be contained within the solar system that you start in, right? All of these questions of like, how do these things work, are world building, but they then help you build these other stories. That's an amazing like seed for an adventure, and it all comes about by James D'Amato asking, "Can you go faster than light?" Like it's great.
Can I just say, I it's really interesting you're talking about this, Pete, because I had something arrive in the post today that I'd forgotten I'd ordered.
Oh, yeah.
You know, we've all experienced that, and it's a lovely feeling. It's like finding a fiver in your back pocket.
Oh, it's lovely, isn't it?
And it's I'll just put it in the chat here so you can kind of visualize it. It was from a person I saw on Instagram called Lord of Maps, who does these wonderful kind of like Tolkien-esque maps, and it's like a stamp set. And I thought of your partner immediately, Pete. I imagine this is something they would kind of make themselves. They'd probably make the stamps themselves, really. But essentially, you've kind of got all the stamps you need to kind of make a basic kind of map, really.
These are beautiful.
It's a gorgeous little production there. So I'm really looking forward to giving those a go at some point, because that's how I typically would start. I have to geographically map out that world.
Yep.
And it says so in this book, actually, the James D'Amato book, about the importance of making connections.
Yeah.
And not having everything like fully mapped out before the players engage with the world, because if it's all mapped out for them, unconsciously they're thinking, well, what's the point of us if you already know what this is going to be? You've made it too obtuse for us. Whereas if it's porous, if there's gaps here, that gives us space as well as you to make connections on the fly. So it feels quite live, it feels quite vibrant, and it feels very agile as a consequence.
Yeah. I totally agree. And I think one of the things I really like about the book as well is that he's also, you know, his immediate disclaimer is like, look, if you don't like some of the things that I say, like don't do them. Like if you already know how to do these things, or if you're like, oh, I don't really want to go about it in this direction, please don't. Like if you've got a better way of doing it. And also, you know, he accepts that there's RPGs whereby you do need more of the world filled in ahead of time. Like you can't, you know, not every game is you know, Fate Accelerated, for example, where you can just, you know, change loads of stuff on a whim, right? Some of it is quite simulationist, but the fact that, like, yeah, the fact that having some of it mapped out, again, I think he talks about this, and like, you only really need the local area that you're starting off in right now to start the journey, and from there you can spin it out. If you spend, you know, days and days and days and days and days planning out, like, well, this is all of the archaeology in the world, and like this goes over here, and this is how this stone was put in by this person on this date, and he joined the masonry group because his father really wanted him to. Like, you're just never going to start playing. And I think that, yeah, there's a lot of value in just like having somebody sit you down and just go, look, man, just start making some choices and playing, and you'll start building this world out yourself. Now, I will say it's mostly around RPGs. I think it has had a bit of criticism for being a little bit fantasy focused. I don't really think that's true. I think it's more than applicable to a bunch of different places, but you know, your mileage may vary, I guess. But I've certainly found a lot of use in it with the games that I've been running and the way that I've been doing world building, and I'm not necessarily working in fantasy. So I thought there's a lot in there, and it's written in such a way that is very. It doesn't come across as this is how you do it. It comes across as these are some tools and techniques. Some of them are going to work for you. Some of them aren't. Some of them may be appropriate. Some of them aren't. Like, you should try them out, see what works for you. And I find that approach to teaching a difficult subject like world building and GMing, I know we've kind of skipped over that book, but it's the same there. Like, it's a really lovely approach to some very difficult subject matter that in worlds around things like RPGs, or indeed short story writing or video game development or whatever, because I think all of this stuff is applicable to that as well.
Actually, Sam, sorry, I don't want to derail this podcast, but one thing we never picked Pete up on, and it came out in the last episode, and you and I looked at each other, Sam, as he was saying it, with a knowing look of, we'll talk about this later.
But did we not go back to it?
We didn't go back to it at all. It was when Pete said he'd started watching Stranger Things.
Oh, yes. Oh, I did remember that, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And you said it in a really interesting way. Stranger Things?
Stranger Things?
As if no one else had ever heard of this huge Netflix phenomenon before, which is on its 5th season soon.
Well, I've not watched it. I know.
You haven't watched Jurassic Park, so...
Well, yeah, exactly.
The TV show which made Dungeons and Dragons famous, it's Stranger Things.
How dare you? That was the thing that Alex, because Alex knows I don't like to. Alex knows that I don't like to watch movies or TV, and so the way that she gets me to watch stuff is she basically just fibs. And she said, "Oh, you really like it because it's about Dungeons and Dragons." And I went, "Really? Is it?" She's like, "Yeah." And I said, "Okay." She said, "Give me. Why don't you just trust me for the first 3 or 4 minutes? And if you want to keep watching, we'll keep watching."
And those are the only 3 or 4 minutes in all of the 5 seasons where they are playing Dungeons and Dragons.
Yeah, and I was like, "Yeah, okay, let's watch the rest of it." Like, and she was just like,
"There's more, is there?" "Oh, yeah, maybe
more of Stranger Things." Yeah.
More Dungeons and Dragons, probably.
Let's find out.
Right, it's that easy, Kris.
Yeah, that's all it took. We just have to go through Alex.
Yeah. There's that wonderful scene in The Godfather where
where he gets out Call of Cthulhu.
So, are we going to do Escape Room with Daniel this weekend?
No, I don't think so.
I would say this. It's very, if people are new to listening to this, hello, first of all, if you're new. But it's a very lads weekend. It's not what we would normally do, is it?
Football, curry, strike.
Yeah.
That's the Holy Trinity, isn't it, Sam?
Yeah.
It's gonna be the proper. I mean, we could try and squeeze an escape room, but I'm not so wedded to it. Just briefly, while we're talking about escape rooms, I've actually, obviously now I'm 39 years unbeaten when it comes to doing escape rooms.
That's not how it works.
And I've slowly, well, not slowly, but I've started introducing my son into the realm of escape rooms by introducing him to the exit games.
Oh,
from Kosmos.
No, we like those, don't we? We like exit games.
We do like them. The Inca and Marcus brand created exit games. It's been actually a while since I did one, and I think that's mainly because I've been doing the advent calendars every year, and that kind of feels like, first of all, it's kind of a commitment in cost. It's about 30.
It's quite a commitment.
30 quid to buy them, and you're pretty much doing an exit game every day for 25 days. So I haven't really played one of the small box editions for quite a while, but this is slightly different to what the exit games actually, the experience that the exit games actually provide, because this is Exit the Game Kids.
Whoa!
Ooh.
I didn't know this was around.
Did you not?
Okay.
No. So hang on. When you say kids, what age range does it say on the box?
So it's a 5 and up.
Oh wow.
And so there are 3 different Exit the Game Kids games. They've released one every year since 2022. So the first one was Jungle of Riddles. Me and my son have been playing Riddles in Monsterville, and they released one last year called Midnight Spooktacular. And how the games work, or at least how Riddles in Monsterville works, is that unlike being in a room where you have to escape from, really the only thing that Exit the Game Kids shares from its quote-unquote adult version is the disc. So if you played the box games before, you'll know that they all come with a decoder disc where you enter in 3 things, and then it basically reveals a code, and then that tells you whether you are successful in solving that puzzle or not. So the Exit the Game, the kids version has a version of this disc, but that's really the only sort of direct comparison between the 2 editions. How the game actually works in playing it is, I think, really, really fun and really engaging. So you have this big deck of cards, and by big deck of cards, I mean like they are big cards, like huge, like almost, Bruce Forsyth.
That's a deep cut.
That's a deep cut.
What's it called? What was the game show called?
Play Your Cards Right.
Yeah.
Play Your Cards Right sized.
So we're talking like
cards.
A2?
I mean,
well, not that big. They're like A3
okay.
or A5.
I mean, even A3's big.
So
okay, A5 probably.
Okay.
Probably.
I mean, we had Jeremy Beadle and Bruce Forsyth in the space of 2 months?
I know.
Yeah, I know. So they come. So you have these big cards, and you shuffle them up, and on each of those cards is one of 6 puzzles. So immediately there is a level of engagement there when you're playing with kids, because the first thing you need to do is shuffle up these cards, and then you draw a card. You find out which of the 6 puzzles that you're going to do, and the puzzles range in complexity and in dexterity, and all of which are either created so either the young person that you're playing with can either do them on their own or have input in how you are doing them as an adult or an older child. So there's things like there's like an emoji game where you have different sort of facial expressions, and you've got to match the monster up with the facial expression. So which one's doing a sad face, which one's sticking out their tongue, and which one's doing a sad crying face. And though you find those 3 monsters on the image of the card, and then you put them into the disc. You turn the disc over. Does it reveal a key? Yes, it reveals a key. You use that key to unlock one of the cookie boxes that's on the side, and reveal a certain amount of cookie boxes, and that's it. That's the game over. There's another one which is a splat, and you put that on the bottom inside the game box, and you've got 3 icons, and you have to basically trace a line with your finger from one end of this like a ribbon to another to find out which of the monsters it connects to. There's another one all about food, which is like a small deduction game, which is like, well, this monster likes this food, this food, and this food. And in this picture, there is this food, and this food on the plate. So can you work out which monster would be eating this food if they don't like this, but they do like that? There's another one about silhouettes, another one about jigsaw pieces where you're just trying to put these random jigsaw pieces together. And then a lovely one, which is classic Exit the Game, which is this piece of long black rope that you twist and turn around a piece of card, and then the monsters that it overlaps are the monsters that you enter into the thing. So the puzzles aside, I think the puzzles are, absolutely pitched remarkably well to the demographic as a whole. As I said at the top, there are things here which are really appealing to 4-year-olds, and there'll be other ones that are more appealing to like 8-year-olds because they require a bit more dexterity, require a bit more thought and feeling. But everything, all of the puzzles have a shared level of input. So say, for example, when I was playing this with my son and we were playing the game where you're tying the rope around the cardboard, like I had to do that but then I was able to pass it to him and go, right, which 3 of the monsters are there? Or, at a very, very basic level, you go, right, here are the 3 monsters. Can you put them in on the disc for me and see if that finds us a key?
Nice.
And quite predictably, like, I was really impressed by how the game kind of fluctuates with attention spans as well. So I once got told by someone that kids at a very, very young age have basically +2 or -2 their age, and that is their attention span, right? Which kind of makes sense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so to start off with, you can make the game as long or as short as you want, and you can also make the game as long and short you want as you're playing it, because you have these cookie tins that you're opening, but you can have the full complement of cookie tins if you want, or you could just play with half, or you could just play with a couple, and then that sort of makes the game
really
expand
smart.
or contract as much as you want it. So sometimes we just sit down and we just like, should we just see if we can unlock 2 cookie tins this time? And then let's just do that. And that's, 20 minutes and a lovely little puzzle just between us. Or should we try and do them all? Let's try and do them all.
Does it have a hint system, Sam? So if it was a group of kids playing this together without the presence of an adult, say, for example, or is it just the case of just trial and error with the dial?
So the way that the game is structured is that is really that an adult
Right
is present,
Okay.
Right.
or at least someone who can read to like a competent level. So about maybe sort of 7 or 8, I would say, because the other thing that the game does really well, and as a parent and as someone who is really in a soft kind of way, I know you probably don't believe it, but in a way, as someone who's trying to introduce board games to their child, but do it in quote unquote the right way, as like not completely forcing it down their throat, but trying to just introduce these experiences sort of gently as we go. Like, Exit the Game Kids just does it in just the amazingly right way.
Yeah.
Like, I've already spoken about how like the game can fluctuate, can contract, can expand, is really so fluid and dynamic to meet not just different age ranges, but different sort of levels of attention span. But how the rule book is written is all about supporting the parent, is all about supporting them in terms of making this a really sort of frictionless experience. So inside the rule book, you have complete guides about how every single puzzle works. So before you even start setting this stuff up, you already know how to basically attack each puzzle. So it's not like a typical Exit game where the first thing you're trying to work out is, what puzzle is this? Is it a guess? Is it a search? Is it, what I'm actually looking for, and trying to spot patterns in things and recognize symbols and try and work out what the game is asking of you to do. As a parent or someone teaching the game, you know exactly how each of the separate 6 puzzles works, and you also have a solution for every single card in the deck in the puzzle book. So the whole way that the game is supporting, children, is by basically arming the adults with everything they need to basically be one step ahead. So, because that's what, when I first opened it, that's what I thought it was going to be like. I'm not going to be able to, by the time we figured out, quote unquote, what the puzzle is, like, the attention's going to be gone and we're not going to be able to have a crack of solving it. But how the conversation goes and how the play goes is like, we've drawn this card. This is what we're going to do next. This is how this is the challenge that is facing us. So, all the tool set is given to the parent. They're there to support. They're there to help guide and shape the experience. So no, there isn't a hint system, but the solutions are all just written in the guide themselves, with the aim being that the adult themselves is the hint system and is there to help and shape and guide that as an experience, which is kind of great, isn't it? Because it kind of feels like, I've played lots of kids games with my son, and you're either infantilized as a parent or you're not welcome to play at all. So it was really nice to play a game that is shaped for kids, that actually had the parents' role in mind, and to give them a role which isn't aside from the experience the kids are meant to be having, but is instead in service of them as an experience. And that's kind of wonderful in a way, because that kind of shapes how I see all other kids' games from this point on.
It also mechanically forces the parent to be in the room. So I think one of the problems that I think kids' video games have a lot is that there isn't you probably need your parents with you for this one. And whereas with this exit game, it's like, no, this is not a give them the box, you go off and do something else. This is you sit there and you play this with them. It's not, guess who, right?
Yeah. Read the flavor text, bring it to life.
Yeah. But, and I think that so mechanically they essentially solve that. Because, you're like, they could have just had a hint system where it's like, here you go, kids, this is the hint system. But actually, like, no, by making it the person who's running it, as it were, it sort of forces them into that space, and makes for a more, I guess it sounds like it makes for a more like connected experience.
It's more connected, it's more enriching. It means that it's not frustrating as an experience, because as I said, like, when I could tell that he was losing interest, I was able just to shape the experience and give him something else to do that was less demanding. So I think that, if you're in the wheelhouse for something like this, if you like board games and you have children, I'd say from 4 onwards. Really, I was incredibly surprised by how good this series was. I kind of I think had written off as a bit of, not as a cash grab, but a bit of a, is it just going to be exit the game light? Yeah. But there has been some serious thought gone into this and the value that it has. And it should do, right? Because if they get this right, then that's a whole generation of kids who are then going like, oh, those exit games were good when I was a kid, right? Kosmos is great. And if you can grow up with that, then you're investing in, as a property, as an identity, as a board game publisher, you're doing, the right by your kids, which is why like the biggest game properties in the world have kids versions. Like, that's why there's My First Carcassonne, My First Castle Panic, My First Catan, My First Ticket to Ride. Like, it's why they all have My First versions, because if you get that right,
it's the first but not the only.
100%.
Right, okay, so do any of you want to hear the plot of Steven Spielberg's A Day at Thorpe Park, aka Thorpe Park?
Yeah, is this AI?
Of course it's AI. So here's the plot, Pete, to Thorpe Park.
Go on.
I mean, see if you can spot any difference. Billionaire John Hammond invites his grandkids, Lex and Tim, along with his esteemed guests, Dr. Alan Grant, Ellie Sattler, and Ian Malcolm, for an exclusive VIP day at Thorpe Park Resort before it opens to the public for the summer season. Upon arrival, they are greeted by a friendly park host who hands them fast-track wristbands and a park map. Excited, they plan out their day. First up, stealth. Hammond insists on riding front row to feel young again, while Malcolm debates the physics of a 0 to 80 mile per hour launch in 1.8 seconds. Next, they hit Colossus, where Grant marvels at the 10 inversions, and Sattler laughs as Hammond emerges slightly dizzy but exhilarated. At the Swarm, Tim and Lex enjoy the near-miss elements, with Malcolm sarcastically pointing out that it's the only time in history being chased by something flying is actually fun. After a thrilling morning, they grab lunch at Amity Fish and Chips, where Hammond insists on getting extra portions just in case. They then cool off with a few gentler rides. A leisurely Rumba Rapids ride where Hammond almost loses his hat, A scenic journey on Storm Surge, where Malcolm, drenched, declares that chaos theory predicted this outcome. A stop at the Dome, where they play arcade games. Lex wins a giant stuffed shark. And in the afternoon, they face the big one, Saw, the ride. Grant, slightly apprehensive, joins in after Lex convinces him it's just like archaeology, but faster. The group emerge victorious, except for Hammond, who declares, never again. As the day winds down, they watch the sunset over Tidal Wave, enjoying ice creams and reminiscing about the best rides. Hammond, smiling, announces, This is what I envisaged. A perfect day of thrills, laughter and memories. Welcome to Thorpe Park.
That is the best thing AI's ever done for us.
Wow.
Magnificent. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Wow.
I don't know how you top that.
I don't think you can you?
Pete, has anyone been in touch yet to see if people play Conkers around the globe? Because I know you asked that.
No, nobody's been in touch about Conkers around the globe. And I'm genuinely very interested. Stayinginpod@gmail.com. If you play Conkers and you're not in Britain, like, let us.
A Conker's known as different things.
They're chestnuts, right? Like they're originally chestnuts, and then you play like a game where you put a chestnut on a piece of string, and then you slap other people's chestnuts with that one,
so to speak.
It's a bit of a weird game, but
it's the most British.
It is the most British of things. I had a 15er once. Just saying. But yeah, if you do, stayinginpod@gmail.com. Equally, if you have any suggestions for us for games that we can play, books that we can read, things that we would like, drop us a line on that as well. You can also find us on Instagram, which is at stayinginpod, where we put nice pictures up. That's the social media we like using because it's nice pictures of nice things. And stayinginpodcast.com is where you can find all this information and more. And if you type in stayinginpodcast.com now and then you'll actually go to our website. It used to be that you had to type in www.stayinginpodcast.com like an old man. But now you can type in just stayinginpodcast.com into your URL, browser of choice, Ask Jeeve, Lycos, Alta Vista. You can do all of that stuff and you should find us. It's all there. Everything that we link out to, including things like our Spotify playlist that Kris puts together, which is all nice and lovely. Our Steam curator list, which is every video game we've ever played that happens to be on Steam, and which is getting quite popular now. Actually, we've done. Steam tells me we've influenced lots of people's Steam things. I don't know what any of it means, but it's good fun. And BGG, we have a big old list of every single podcast that we've ever put out, with every board game we've ever talked about linked to it. So you can see, like, and on episode 23, they talked about this, and go and see us talk about that stuff. So that's all there.
Just to some late reporting here that in the Wikipedia claims that Conkers was played in the late 1940s and 50s in New York, and also in Leicester, Massachusetts, in the 70s and 80s, where it was known as horse cobblers. And also that there is a World Conker Championships that's been running since 1965.
That's a long tournament.
In 2004, an audience of 5,000 people turned up to watch more than 500 competitors from all over the world. So, we know that you're out there. We know that you are playing Conkers in different parts of the world. Just let us know. For example, the North American Conker Championship started in 2012 in Nova Scotia, Canada. So we know. We are watching. Let us know. There's also a game called Egg Tapping. Right, okay. So whilst I go down that route, is it? Have we done it all?
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Pants optional as always.